In September, I had the good fortune of heading south for ULA's fall workshop in Cedar City. Marilee Cannon and Carla Gordon, the continuing education chairs, put together a delightful workshop. The most obvious benefit of workshops are the educational opportunities. It's a great chance to learn from others, and that was on full display this year. But my favorite part about workshops, and ULA in general, are the informal learning opportunities. Those times when you can just talk to your colleagues about what's going on at their libraries, where they're struggling, and where they're succeeding. Sometimes that doesn't look so serious. It's circling up chairs and sharing ghost stories. I learned that Cedar City's library is haunted, by the way. And sometimes it's talking about the gender dynamics of making employees comfortable talking to their supervisor. Either way, I often find those moments can exceed even the highest quality presentation. I drove to Cedar City on September 28th. That same evening, the Cornell Labs Birdcast website estimated 546,200 birds crossed through Utah on their migration paths. Further, an estimated 1,459,200 were in flight that night. Many birds take multiple nights to cross the state, so the number in flight is typically much higher than the number that fully crossed. Like those 1 million plus birds in flight, I broke my trip up into a few stages. I landed first at the Provo Library, then later the Manti Library, before finally roosting in Cedar City for the night. Joella Bagshaw invited me to stop by the Provo Library, and I think she introduced me to every single librarian in the building that day. It was interesting to see some of the same struggles I face at my library reflected in theirs. Libraries as makeshift social service providers, behavior issues, children's access to computers. At least I thought about access to computers as a shared issue until I found out it was primarily about adults who didn't want children to access computers. I stopped in Manti as well. Manti has a beautiful old Carnegie library right on Highway 89. I immediately found it familiar because it reminded me of Salt Lake City's Chapman Library. As an aside, Chapman is super haunted. The Manti director, Cynthia Lopez, one-upped Joella and introduced me to all the staff in the building, all three of them. They face a lot of the same struggles, plus small-town budget woes. Cynthia also reiterated how important it is to continue to emphasize diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. One of my favorite migratory birds that crosses our state is the western tanager. They are beautiful yellow songbirds with a black back and a bright red head. Some summer as far north as the Northwest Territories in Canada before traveling all the way to Mexico or Central America for the winter. Sometimes when you're weary from the journey, it's easy to overlook all the things going well. And I saw so much going well. The Provo Library is a vibrant place, colorful enough to put a tanager to shame. Joella took particular care to show me her department, the children's section, and I was so impressed with how they do displays. She makes sure that at least one of the display cases in children's changes each week so that people get in the habit of looking to see what's changed. What a great way to keep displays fresh. Seeing the way Cynthia has adapted her 100-year-old building to provide her community with what they need showed me what just winging it looks like in the best possible way. The perfect example is their Zoom room, a space remodeled during the pandemic that gives them the flexible space they need. I was so impressed with the STEM programming they do there too. I want to stop by again when they have their next big water program. Canada geese flying in a V formation is one of the iconic sights of fall for me. Hearing that chorus of honks and the explosion of wing beats almost makes me shiver as I'm so perfectly transported to a crisp fall morning. The geese don't fly in a V just because it looks good. They fly that way because it makes flying easier. It's easier to make it as a flock. I hope that all of you have found your flock in ULA. Part of ULA's strategic plan is focused on connection and engagement. Two of our goals are: ULA has extended reach throughout the state by engaging new members, and current members feel deeply connected to other members and increasingly engaged with ULA. If you're reading this message, you're already more connected with ULA than most. But are you as connected as you want to be? ULA is a volunteer organization that relies on the whole flock to be successful. Whatever your expertise, ULA can use your help. And if you're already helping as much as you'd like to, have you let colleagues know about the positive impact ULA has had on you? Have you told them about ULA so they can find their flock? Let's make sure we're all working together to make ULA the connected, collaborative, and inclusive organization that we want it to be. Because it's a long way to Cedar City when you're all alone.